I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 134, When You're In It. Your life does not have to revolve around your husband's pornography addiction. You are not defined by his choices or by what he sees on the screen. You are not just the porn addict's wife. You are so much more. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to go from handling it to healed. Because I've been where you are, and you don't have to stay there. My name is Jolene Wynn. I'm a member of the LDS Faith, a certified life coach, and a wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I am very excited to be on the podcast here today. Rob is joining me today.
Hello, everybody.
And it has been quite some time since we have had Rob be on the podcast, and I'm very excited to have him here. But before we do that, I wanted to let you guys know a few things. First of all, Merry Christmas. I love this season. Favorite time of year. I love it. And my favorite thing about Christmas is Christmas lights. I think they're just so magical. We actually got married right before Christmas, and so on December 19th, happy anniversary to us. And when we got married at our wedding reception, I just had a big Christmas tree and Christmas lights everywhere and candles because that's what I really like. So,
and you've saved that tree.
I did. I saved all the, not the tree itself, but all the decorations. Because my wedding colors were black and white. So the tree was white ribbon, all the lights. It had like flowers and feathers and beautiful things in there. We saved it forever, but now we are going to be married.
Got rid of it last year.
We did, because it has been 14 years, so it was kind of dead. So this year I got new Christmas tree stuff, which is fun. Anyway, I did want to let you guys know that if you are looking for a Christmas gift, a great idea would be my book. So you guys can go to Amazon and you guys can just type in The Not Enough Wife, and it will come up by Jolene Wynn, and that is a great thing. You can ship it directly to them as a gift. And it is a great gift for all the women in your life, your grandma, your mom, your best friend, and it is the right price point to make it easy, right? So that it's not super extravagant, but it is wonderful for all of the women in your life. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. It's also a great stocking stuffer gift idea. If your husband is looking, you can just shoot that to him in like a wish list idea. Also, if you guys are looking for Christmas gifts for yourself, come join me in coaching. It is the best gift you could ever give yourself, is the gift of coaching. So you could join my program today. All you have to do is go to my website, jolenewynn.com. Merry Christmas. And if you want to come try out coaching first, then I want to invite you guys to come to Coach Week. Coach Week is a free week of coaching that I am doing. Merry Christmas to y'all. And that is December 19th through the 22nd. If you go to my website, jolenewynn.com, you will see a tab called Coach Week, and you can go there to get all the details. You can join for free. I would encourage you, even if you can't make the calls live, to sign up because you will get access to all of the recordings. So come join me for coaching. You can come just watch. You can come anonymously. You don't have to turn on your video, but if you guys have been loving the podcast, if you want additional help, if there's something you're struggling with, if you're just really curious about coaching, or if you know you want coaching but you can't afford it, then come join me for this week because it's completely free. So Merry Christmas to you. Come coach with me for a week for free. Again, go to my website, jolenewynn.com, go to the Coach Week tab, and you'll see all the details there and you'll be able to sign up. Is that all of it? That's the calendar. That's what I was saying.
No, yeah, excellent.
Like we had to do when I was growing up. Did you guys do the calendar?
At the end of the week.
Did you call it the calendar?
No, we didn't call it the
it?
Calendar. It was just, what are we doing this week?
Oh, my mom pulled out the calendar.
What are we doing
the
this
desk
week?
calendar that was like a 3-ring binder calendar, right? And the desk calendar, and it had like a comic.
Your Coach Week is on our anniversary.
It is. I'm starting it December 19th. Ladies, come join me for my anniversary. I can think of no better way to spend my anniversary than with all of you.
And that's sitting here with me. So.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So come join me, and I would love to see you guys there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So today, ladies, I asked Rob to come on the podcast, and I wanted to talk to you guys about what it's like to be in it. You guys know what I'm talking about? When you're in it, when you're in the suck, as Rob so elegantly
That's how I describe
it. And because there have been some things that have come up for Rob and I over the last couple of weeks, and my clients know this because we've been talking about it quite a bit in my coaching program, but there's been some things that have come up, and so it's a lot more processing. You would think after all these years and all the things that we've been doing, we would have talked about everything, and yet we hadn't. And so we are both processing a lot of emotions, and it has been a little sucky. Let's be honest.
Well, let's just tell people what the suck is. Like,
sure.
just define what the suck is. The idea of, like, our emotions in life are 50-50.
Yes.
Right? And that we try to create a life that is 100% positive all the time, right? We never want to feel an unhappy emotion. And when we do that, we often layer on more sucky emotions,
yes.
I'll call it,
yes.
more of the negative 50 onto our life in order to avoid the negative emotion. We actually are creating more layers onto that side. And so to kind of reset that, there's this little process to actually go through some of those difficult emotions we've been avoiding, the emotional baggage we've been carrying around. And sometimes that takes going through the difficult emotion rather than going around it or
it
over
always
it,
takes
or,
going through it.
Or,
Rob's going on a bear hunt. Do you guys know that story?
That's what I was thinking.
The story is going on a bear hunt. If you guys have kids, you know this story, right? Going on a bear hunt, going to catch a big one, and then they go and they face all these obstacles.
The mud
and the rain and the snowstorm, and they can't go around it, and they can't go under it, and they have to go through it. That's what he's talking about. That's what it's like.
Squishy.
And that's what it's like, is when you guys are in, you guys, ladies, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you are going through it, right?
It's that week.
It's that week, those days, those moments, those hours, whatever it is. And it's usually more than an hour. Usually it's a couple of days at least.
Different than just having a bad week.
Correct.
Right? This is intentional processing of leftover emotion.
Yes.
Allowing yourself to feel it, things that you're hiding, resisting, trying to avoid, trying to distract or buffer from.
100%.
And to allow yourself to be open and vulnerable. And Jolene asked me to come on this podcast about 20 minutes ago, and I said, I don't want to.
Why not?
And I said, because I don't feel like being vulnerable right now, right? That's a hard emotion to continue to allow yourself to feel. At least that's just the thought of it, right? But it takes the vulnerability, it takes the willingness and the humility, the humbleness of it, the willingness to open up those emotions so that they can be felt. Right?
And again, our natural inclination, ladies, is to avoid them and is to try to shove them down, right? I've talked about that beach ball, right? That those hard emotions, those emotions that we don't want to feel, we tend to resist. We tend to want to shove them down. And what we do is we try to push them down like holding a beach ball underwater. The problem with this is that you can only do that for so long before you become exhausted. It's super tiring to try and do that all the time, to just put on a happy face and pretend like everything's fine and keep going. It's very difficult to do. So what ends up happening is the rebound from that, when you finally get so exhausted that your muscles give out, then what happens is that beach ball flies up, hits you in the face, the water sprays you in the face, it creates a huge wave and ripple effect. And what I'm talking about is not resisting that emotion and just allowing the beach ball to be there and doing it on purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and that's really what we've been doing the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Is sitting and allowing both of our emotions to be there. And we have plenty of things in our life right now that we could distract ourselves with, right? We have plenty of things. We're selling a house. We have
I'm running a business. We both coach. We're selling a business. I homeschool 5 kids. There are all the... We went on vacation.
We were on vacation with your family. Like, we could have just smiley faced that the whole week. And that was very open and vulnerable to process emotion
with other people.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna get into it, but I have a few things. Like, some of the things that I'm gonna say today are very practical, and some of these things, I think they're all practical. But but I'm just going to go for it. Okay. We're going to start number one. When you're in it, what I want to offer, ladies, is one of the most important things you can do is self-care. And I actually mean physical self-care. Okay. I mean, remove as much as you possibly can from your schedule. Cancel things, let things go. And here's why. I'm not saying that you need to do this in order to withdraw or isolate. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying go into a pity party and
eat ice cream.
Eat ice cream. No, that's fine if you want to do that temporarily. Okay. But like what I mean is I want you to do it to focus your energy on what's most important, which is processing your emotions. I am not suggesting that you go do self-care in order to distract yourself from your emotions. I am suggesting that you take the energy that you would have spent on other things and refocus it. Okay? Take a nap. Processing emotions, right, ladies, is a very tiring thing physically. If there's anything that's going to let you know that processing emotions is an actual physical experience, is that when you feel it, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Think of a time in your life where you felt you had to process a lot of emotions, right? Where you had a lot of sadness or a lot of grief or a lot of pain. You are like physically exhausted afterward. That's because emotions are physical. You feel them physically. So it's important to re-energize yourself, okay? Take a nap. Cancel as much as you can. Limit your schedule and limit your interactions with others so that you can use all of that energy on yourself rather than on just checking the boxes and getting through the day. Does this make sense? Rob, does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say like the nuance of that is it's really easy to hide from your emotions by canceling all those things. Like you can easily withdraw. I did it all the time over the years that
especially when you were
depressed. Like that's the easiest thing to do. I'm not going to that party. I'm not going to do this project this weekend. I'm going to withdraw into my little ball and stay there. That's much different than what you're describing, which is on purpose. Say, I'm canceling everything because I have some work to do on myself this week. Like I am dedicating a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And obviously it's depending on the overwhelm, right? Like there's sometimes where that moment is necessary. Yeah. Right? I did not go into work. Yeah.
You guys, for the second time in our lives, Rob has never called in sick. Ever.
Once, maybe.
Did you? I don't even think you have. And there have been 2 times where he has not gone into work. One time he didn't go into work, and that was for this exact same reason.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. However many years ago it was. And then a couple weeks ago, and he went in late. And this has literally never happened. Like the 2 times total, and you've been working for however many years?
Yeah, 7 years or so.
8 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are times when it is important to make yourself a priority. And that's really what the decision is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was an emotional morning that I just knew the time needed to be dedicated to that. It wasn't something that I could rush. It wasn't something that I could just cover up and it was a consequence for me. Like it wasn't an easy decision, and and a lot of people were affected by that decision. And again, that it was a rare decision, but it was a needed decision for this amount of emotion and situation that was happening.
Absolutely. So that is my first suggestion. My second one, ladies, is to phone a friend. Right? You know, like on Jet. Wasn't it? Who wants to be a millionaire? Where they're like, I'd like to phone a friend. Phone a friend. Okay? I want you to have one person. When you guys are in it, ladies, I want you to tell someone. And again, you don't have to go into the details. I can't stress this enough. There are so many of you listening. They're like, well, I don't have anybody to tell because I can't tell them about my husband because then they'll think differently about him or whatever it is. Ladies, you don't have to tell them the details. All you have to say is, I'm struggling right now. I'm kind of going through something, and I just want somebody who knows that. There is so much power in that. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the coaching group that I have is that all of these women have this system in place. I've created this system of amazing women who can all support one another, and they can come on and say, you know what, they can just shoot a message and say, you know what, ladies, I'm going through something hard, and everyone understands, and they don't even have to give details, and you don't have to give details to whoever you're telling it to. Okay? But I just want you to have one person that you can text and say, today sucks, and I feel like I don't want to get out of bed, and I just want to cry and go to sleep and not wake up tomorrow, right? You just need one person that you can send that text to, and they might say, I'm so sorry, is there, what's going on? You say, you know what, I don't need, I'm not going to share the details right now, and that's totally fine. You don't have to. But just to have one person that you can be honest with, that you don't have to put on a face for.
I was just going to say, people understand that and respect that.
Yes, they do. Like, sure. Even when Rob went in late for work, you said that everyone was, like, really nice, and they were concerned about you.
Right. People are just concerned.
Yeah. And they just want you to be okay, right? So that's my second suggestion. Okay, now my third one is to process the emotion. Now, if you don't know how to process the emotion, I understand that. Come coach with me and I will teach you how to actually feel that emotion physically. It's actually a physical thing that you do to learn how to feel that feeling. But what I want to offer to you is that you practice asking yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? And first just start with identifying it, okay? And don't judge yourself for how you're feeling, even if it makes no sense or even if it's new, okay? So with this thing that we've been going through, I have felt a lot of emotions that I don't typically feel, like bitterness and resentment and anger. And those are not my normal responses, which I know I have so many clients that love those emotions. They love to be bitter and they love to be resentful and they love to be angry. And I am just not that way. I don't love feeling those feelings. So those are not my normal go-to responses, right? We all have our comfort zone responses, the ones we normally go to. These are not mine. And so they have come up a lot. And Rob can attest that I have had quite a different emotional response. And I have tried to be very open to those emotions, because what happens when we aren't open to those emotions is we resist them and we shove them down. And what happens when we shove them down, Rob?
They stay down there they show up in different ways in your life everywhere else.
Yes.
And start driving actions that you don't want in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if those emotions that are coming up for you, ask yourself, okay, what is this that I'm feeling? Some of them might be really easy to identify. And if they are, and you don't want to feel them, try and feel them anyway.
It's kind of like when you're like yelling at your child and you're like, I don't really want to yell at you right now. Why am I yelling at you? Or like you're getting frustrated with somebody wherever and you're like, why am I responding this way? This isn't how I want to respond right now. But it's honestly it's coming from somewhere.
It's coming from somewhere. Typically what happens, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay, typically what happens is when you resist that emotion, it comes up later, right? Again, it's that beach ball underwater. You can only resist it for so long, and then it's going to pop back up. But it might pop back up in a completely different scenario, right? You might be yelling at your kid and be like, I'm not even really angry at this kid for this thing that they did. What I'm really mad at is my husband for whatever dumb thing he did earlier today, right? But because I resisted that and I didn't want to feel angry at him, or I didn't want to feel whatever it is that I felt and I shoved it down, it's going to come back up later in a different response.
Yeah, and if you've never practiced catching that, then sometimes we're really blind to those patterns and behaviors. But if you start observing that in yourself, you'll soon find how that works within emotions and actions. Yes.
And the one key that I would say to this, if you're brand new at this as well, is to try to be really curious. Instead of our natural inclination, again, is to judge. I shouldn't be feeling this. I've talked about this a lot. Like if I feel cheated, but he hasn't actually cheated, then I shouldn't feel cheated. He didn't actually cheat. That kind of thought is a judgment on your emotion. You can just let that go. Okay. I shouldn't be this angry. Right? Or I don't like feeling resentful. I don't want to feel that. Those kinds of thoughts are just a resistance to the emotion. And you can just let all of that go and instead trying to be really curious. What is this that I'm feeling? I wonder why I'm feeling this when I don't normally. And just give yourself permission to feel it.
We try to talk ourselves out of our emotions all the time.
I have been doing this for several weeks. Rob actually helped me uncover this earlier today. I have been trying, and this is so fascinating. I'm going to come back to this later, but we do try to talk ourselves out of it. No, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal.
That's
I'm
not really
blowing
how I'm
this up.
thinking.
It's not really how I'm thinking. I'm not that type of person. Those are all trying to think our way out of our feelings. But ladies, if you've been here more than a minute, you know you can't think your way out of your feelings. You cannot logic your way out of emotion. It doesn't work because they're two separate systems. The more you try, the less it's going to work. Okay? And the longer that emotion is going to stay with you. So ask yourself, what is this that I'm feeling? What emotion then is this? Try to identify it and try to allow yourself to feel it.
Like when we don't understand like how our emotional system works, we try to control it with our thinking and our brain and running it that way. And that's how we get stuck in circles and patterns and loops and thought loops. And
it's also when we try to control how we feel by changing our environment.
Or controlling our environment.
That's
when we get obsessive.
Yes.
We get controlling. We get short. We get paranoid.
Yes. Ladies, it's like if I don't feel good about myself and if I feel like I don't like how I look, then I try to control that by losing weight and maybe then I'll feel better about myself. If I feel anxious about him looking at his phone, then that's when I try to control his apps or constantly checking the apps and the controls on his phone and all of those things to try and make sure that he's not doing that so that I feel better, right? And none of that actually works because it's all trying to manipulate how we feel rather than just processing how we feel instead. Okay, the next point that I want to suggest is to talk to him. Ladies, this is one of the hardest things to do is when you're in it, is to talk to him. Because again, like Rob was saying, the key to that is being vulnerable. And vulnerability goes against every instinct that we have, right? Your instinct says to recoil, to retreat, to fight it, right? Your brain is afraid of feeling hurt, but you're already feeling hurt. Okay, it's probably going to feel uncomfortable. These conversations are not going to be fun. Have our conversations been fun?
Not fun.
No, I would not call them
long, not fun.
You guys, we have been like up till between midnight and 3 a.m. for a week. Over a week.
Not like, this week, but the week before.
Yeah, it was like there was like 10 days straight, and I got to bed at 9, y'all. Like this was rough, and it's been a lot of very late talks, long talks, uncomfortable talks.
So I'm going to share something in the middle of your podcast.
Please do.
That is for the gentleman.
Go. Okay.
Okay.
Gentlemen, if you're listening,
so if any gentleman is listening, and the idea is that our brain likes to say, well, some things are best just kept like secret.
Isn't that a pretty little lie?
Right. Some things are best just not said or not told, or I shouldn't tell her that, right? Because that's going to make her feel a certain way. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's a, what's that called?
Disclosure.
Like a full disclosure. Like I'm not suggesting that, because I really think that is something that's done with tools and with coaching or with a therapist. Like both parties need to be prepared and in that space in order to do something like that. But what I do want to suggest is the things that we're not saying, the things that we're holding back, the things that we're hiding in our relationship. The lie is that it is not there in between the relationship, right? Like it's happening, but it's not affecting my relationship, right? There's no proof in the outward sense that it's affecting our relationships, right?
Therefore,
when you're viewing pornography, right, and she doesn't know about it, it's therefore not a problem, right? I believe that for years while I was viewing pornography, like, oh, it's not affecting our relationship.
Our sex life is still
She didn't even know about it.
No, I didn't.
Right? It was hidden, it was secret, and I believe that it was just something I was dealing with, and it wasn't in between or affecting our relationship. I just want to say how big of a lie that is that we tell ourselves. It is sitting right in between you and the relationship you want to have. we had an amazing relationship even in those years, right? I would say we had a great relationship. I can't believe how much closer Jolene and I are in every way as we've gone through the suck together, as we've gone through the vulnerability, the opening up. And yes, it's a lot of emotions on both parts, but I feel closer to her now than ever before. And I couldn't imagine 10 years ago that was even possible. Like, I already thought our relationship was at a 10.
Right.
Right?
Right. It's like that question. I've asked you guys this before, and this is something I took from Brooke Castillo, is, what you think of you, if you had to rate your relationship right now. So many of us would say, oh, we're pretty good, like 7, 8. But what if it's actually whatever number you think you're at, what if you're only a 2? What if, however great you think you are, it could be exponentially better?
So this is a whole podcast in itself, but I just want to share this concept of what I call a glass house. And we think that, and this is for everybody, we think that what we're thinking in our heads, the other person is unaware of, and that it's not affecting that relationship. For example, our neighbor, right? Let's say we have some not so pleasant thoughts about our neighbor, yet we, on a surface level, are interacting with them just fine. Yet, that person subconsciously, even if they're not aware of, can pick up on those thoughts. And our interactions with them, it's like, or your boss at work, right? They're picking up on these subconsciously, and it's not going to show up in any words we say or any actions we do, but it might show up in how we breathe or posture or walk out of a room or close a door when that person's around, right? It shows up and they're picking it up. So the glass house concept,
No, go for it.
The glass house concept is take yourself and imagine your thoughts as a glass house. They can see all of it. And if you do that, you're going to actually realize why your relationship is the way it is with your neighbor, with your boss, with your mother-in-law. Just imagine if your mother-in-law knew every thought you've ever thought about her. Just practice that. Guess what? She kind of does subconsciously, right? Just practice that and then realize that's why your relationship is the way it is.
Right.
And so that's just what I'm sharing in this moment here is I practice that in myself, knowing that I am a glass house when it comes to my subconscious interactions, even in my relationship with Jolene. I hope this is making sense. Are you following me?
I'm following you.
Okay. And thinking that those old thoughts, those old past thinking wasn't interfering with us, and then practicing that they are. So my thought for the gentleman here is that that's already a wedge in between your relationship. Those thoughts are already between you and the relationship that could be. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's a judgment. I'm not saying this has to be done right away or fixed right away, but just recognize the potential that is there by allowing and learning to go through the suck, by allowing the learning to go through and looking at what thoughts you're thinking about your wife, about pornography, about other women. Okay? And then that will show you a lot where your relationship can improve.
I like that.
Okay.
And then that tip kind of goes in with the next one, which is to sit with the emotion. This is something I've been talking a lot with my clients about over the last couple of weeks, is allowing yourself to sit with emotions for as long as they need to be there. They may not be there all the ways. They may not be consistently there or constantly inside of you, but they may just keep popping back up. Even if you don't know what the emotion is, I want you not to push it away. Okay, I want to encourage you to observe it, to just kind of notice that it's there and let it be there. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example of this. Over the last couple of weeks, there's been a thought that I have had, and the thought was, there's nothing I can do. Now, I've talked about this thought before, and it was very much in a release of like a letting go of like, I have no responsibility of this. It was very much a relief of there's nothing I can do. I'm not responsible for him or his actions or his thoughts or his behavior or anything like that. That was not what this thought was producing. It was not producing relief. It was not an acceptance. It almost felt like resignation. That was the emotion that kept coming to my mind, and yet it didn't quite fit right. And you'll know this by asking yourself, like, what is this that I'm feeling? And your brain will start to produce answers for you. And if it doesn't like quite match, you'll be like, well, it's kind of. And that's what I said to Rob. I said, it's almost resignation. And I told my clients this too. And I've been just kind of letting it be there for a couple of weeks now, but I knew it wasn't resignation. And it wasn't until today when I got coached by an amazing coach that I recognized it wasn't resignation, it was hopelessness. When I had that thought, there's nothing I can do, I felt hopeless. And it's so fascinating to me that I didn't even recognize this emotion because it's not one that I feel frequently. Or, which is what actually was the case, it was not one that I wanted to accept. I was resisting acknowledging this emotion because of what I was making it mean. Yes, ladies, I am human. Did you know this? And this is why I want to go into my last point, which is to get a coach. Getting coached today is what helped me face my emotions and the thoughts that I was resisting, and that is what has created a breakthrough for me. When we resist our thoughts and our feelings, they stay there longer. Ladies, you cannot move forward unless you know where you're starting. You can't get to your destination. If you know where you want to go, if you know that where you want to go is feeling better, you can't get there unless you know where you're beginning, because you need directions. I can't get you there without directions. You have to know your starting point in order to get to your ending point. And I'm a coach, ladies. I know all the tools. I know what to do. And I still have a human brain that doesn't want to feel hopelessness, a human brain that wants to make hopelessness mean that we have no hope, that we have no future, that it is hopeless. And because my brain thought that subconsciously, it was resisting even recognizing that emotion within myself. And so it took me several weeks and a coach to help me uncover it, to get me to face the uncomfortable thing, because I was blocking myself from that. But again, I can't get to the relationship that I want to have with Rob unless I go through where I am now. It takes going through the hard thing in order to get to the other side. You have to go through it. You can't skip over it. And you can't get there by pretending that it's not there, because it comes back up. How many of you ladies have been listening to this podcast for months, for years? And are you any further along? I'm so glad that it's helping you, but are you still working through stuff? Yes. Sometimes because we are resisting it. Sometimes because we think we can just get through it on our own. Maybe we don't need to go through that one thing. Maybe it's okay if we just go around it. Let's do the majority of it. I'll do it on all the other stuff, but this one I don't want to do. This one is too hard. Or maybe we don't even recognize what it is that we're avoiding, which is what I was doing. I knew that I was avoiding something, but I didn't really know what it was, and I thought I was processing. And I was processing. I was processing resistance, a lot of it, because I was resisting that emotion and trying to talk my way out of it, trying to convince myself that I didn't feel hopeless, trying to do this the exact same way that I've done it before, because the way that I've done it before, I know that it works. So I was trying to recreate a past experience, trying to put myself in a box of emotions rather than allowing and accepting the emotions that were coming up at the time. I don't know if any of this is making any sense. Is this making any sense?
I'm following you.
Okay, but you've also been here, so maybe that. I don't know. Ladies, I hope this is making sense for you. But getting a coach is what helps us, because, again, I've talked about this before. We have blinders. We can't even see what we can't see. And having someone else come in and help you take those off and look at them with you and give you permission to feel a feeling and tell you that it's okay, and give you permission to think thoughts and tell you it's okay, is so relieving. And it's actually what helps us move forward. Sometimes, I've talked about this before, but sometimes even the recognition of what's blocking us is enough for it to go away, because it's just the acceptance of it. This is what I teach my clients. It's the exact same process. Number one is awareness. You can't change what you don't see. And number two is acceptance rather than judgment. I had to become aware of the thought, which I did, but then I had to accept it. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't even want to become aware of it because of how much I was judging it subconsciously. And then after that, that's when you can process it. And after you process it, that's when you can change it if you want to. It's the same process with everything. And that's exactly what I've been doing today. Rob, what are your thoughts?
If any of that sounds different, that's part of like the emotional processing. And I feel like those of you who are in Jolene's program or have practiced with the processing, you'll be able to follow that and hear that a little bit more as well. I guess I've just been processing myself all week, and it's very vulnerable. And the week before that, right? And a lot of emotions that I process are things like I tend to go into repeated patterns of like guilt and shame and grief and sadness in very deep depths of myself. And so I've been processing those, and I've learned a lot about my emotions and myself this week, and learned where I'm holding back positive emotions in my life, which is something that is kind of a deeper skill, where you see where you're not giving somebody love, where you're not allowing your heart to feel open towards another person, right? Have you ever felt that? Like you kind of close off, you get upset with somebody and you kind of close your heart, like your physical heart closes, it seems like, and then, having that open. So that's very just emotion-based experience that I've been working on this week and learning about myself. And that's what I think is Jolene's saying, like, you have to go through that. You want to go through that suck, because that's where you grow. That's where you change. That's where you have the ability to choose your response, to choose your life, and to choose where you want to go next by going through that. And it's the avoidance of it that then turns us into chickens with our heads cut off, right? Just like running around trying to not know how we're doing, what we're doing, why we're doing it, all confusion. That's where we stay in that confused, difficult existence when we're not willing to go through.
Right. And I think one of the final things that I want to offer to y'all with Rob here is that one of the most important things that you can do when you're in it, and especially if you are communicating with your spouse about it, is to give them permission to feel however they're going to feel. So often what we would try to do is we try to fix, right? We want to make them feel better. Or ladies, we might even say, no, you don't get to be sad and upset about this. You're the one that's the problem. Like, if anyone's going to be sad and upset, like, I'm the one that's hurting you, right?
Don't talk to me about your hurt.
Right.
I'm the one hurting.
So one of the things, that's kind of like two things, is one is to just
doing it as a couple, right?
Is allow the other person to feel emotion, which is something Rob's talked a lot about with me this week, is he says it's very hard for him sometimes to allow me to just sit and accept that I'm feeling a lot of emotion.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, rather than just trying to fix it or say something to make her feel better, which isn't true in a sense, right? Or just to try to like appease or distract or make it go away, but actually allow her to feel miserable. I mean, we've had conversations that bring up some very difficult emotions, but also difficult thoughts.
Yeah.
From both of us, but like difficult thoughts for me to hear as a husband, right? But allowing that, and yes, I jump into defensive mode. I'm not perfect, right?
Sometimes,
We
yes.
jump into defense, and then we have to pause and realize that, like, that's where I'm at. But the more space you allow for your own emotions lets you then allow more space for the other person. And so the more I practiced allowing myself space, is the more I can allow her space. And that is so important when you're processing emotions.
Right.
Don't judge your emotions. Don't judge their emotions. Allow them to feel and accept how they're feeling.
Yeah, it's okay. He's allowed to feel angry. He's allowed to feel hurt.
Even when it's his fault.
Even when it's his fault. He's allowed to feel judged. He's allowed to feel frustrated. He's allowed to feel however he feels. And giving him that permission is what's also going to enable you to give yourself that same permission. You're allowed to feel however you feel. This week the last couple of weeks, I gave myself permission to feel resentment and bitterness and rejection and fear and all of the emotions. And I gave myself permission to feel all of those things. And I gave him permission to feel all of the things, guilt and shame and sadness. And I gave him permission to feel defensive, because that also makes sense, right? It's okay. Give yourself and him permission to feel the emotions. And you kind of brought this up, but the other thing that I would say is watch out for getting defensive. It's very natural. It's going to want to come up. Your pride is going to want to say, you don't get to be upset. I'm the one that's hurt, right? You're the one that did the thing.
Or you're making this bigger than it needs
Yes,
to be.
or
And
whatever it
you
is,
shouldn't
right?
have to feel that.
And so just watch that. There's no need to get defensive. I talk about this in my book, actually.
Can you be done?
Yeah. Can you back up? In my book, I have a whole chapter on there's no medal for being right. You don't get an award if you're right. And that's what our brain wants to do. That's why we get defensive. I'm right, you're wrong. And so that's what I want to offer, is that nobody has to be right or wrong here. Nobody wins in that scenario. You're just trying to convince each other and argue with each other that you're right and the other one's wrong. And neither one of you are going to win. And then that's just going to put both of you on opposite sides. So rather, I would just encourage you to come to the table or to the conversation without that agenda. And if you notice yourself starting to feel defensive, that's okay. Just kind of relax into it and back off a little bit. And maybe you can even pause, you guys. There's nothing wrong with pausing conversations. If you feel like you're not responding in a way that you are happy with, okay? That's okay. And you can just come back to it, all right? Just give yourself a minute, and that's all right.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we get defensive is we're putting meaning onto the other person's emotions.
Yeah.
Right? We're taking their emotion and then adding meaning onto it with our thoughts. Right? Because they're feeling this way, that means something about myself. That means something about our marriage. That means something about that, how they think about me. Right? Rather than just letting the emotion be what it is and just, Jolene's feeling sad right now. Jolene is feeling resentment. It's just an emotion. She's allowed to feel bitter.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it doesn't have to mean that, believe me, my brain goes there all the way through. My brain makes it mean all the things. Like, how many times in our conversation I'm just like, please don't leave me. Are you leaving
Rob's
me?
biggest fear.
That's where I go.
That's
Like,
where
every
his brain
time I'm
goes.
just like, are you done with me? And so when I catch my brain making everything she's feeling make it mean that, then I can allow her to feel even those feelings that she might actually be feeling and thinking. But I don't add meaning onto it.
Yeah.
I let her feel those things.
Yeah. Do you have any last tips, Dad?
Oh, I thought those were great thoughts.
Okay. So, ladies, those are all my thoughts for you today. Thank you, Rob, for coming and sharing. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you come join me in Coach Week so that I can help you go through everything you're going through. And if you know that you want more help than that, then you can always come join my coaching program. Just sign up today. You can go online and sign up. Merry Christmas. Tell your husband this is what you want for Christmas. And we will start moving forward rather than staying stuck. I love you, ladies. I hope you have a great week. Take care. All right, ladies, if you are loving what you are learning on the podcast, I want to invite you to come join my coaching program. This is where we take it to the next level and we actually start applying and learning the how of moving forward. This podcast has taught you the what, and the coaching program is where you're going to learn the how. This is where you learn how to actually start moving forward, process all of that pain that you feel, and let it go once and for all. If you are ready to finally move forward and stop living a life that revolves around your husband's pornography addiction, then I want to invite you to come join me today. Just head to my website, joleneWynn.com, and sign up today. I can't wait to see you there.